Alright, welcome Algebra 2. In this video, we are going to go over the definition of negative exponent. Now, I feel like maybe I might have made this a little too confusing in class, so hopefully using this example, we can kind of make sense of it and then give an example problem of how you would use it if you were doing simplifying exponents. So, use this example here. So I'm going to just scroll down here and just start fresh. Alright, we have x to the third divided by x to the fifth. Alright. Well, I'm going to expand this out. X times x divided by, well, x to the fifth. So we're going to have 5 x's on the bottom. Alright, well, x divided by x is just 1. X divided by x is just 1. X divided by x is just 1. And then we're just left with 2 x's on the bottom. So we're going to get x squared. Alright, well, this is the same thing as, well, what's 1 times 1 times 1? Well, that's just 1 over x squared. Alright, well, let's go ahead and use this example here. Let's look at this right here. So, if I have x to the third divided by x to the fifth, I can use the quotient property, right? I can subtract these exponents. So, x to the third divided by x to the fifth, this is the same thing as x to the 3 minus 5, which is equal to x to the negative 2. Alright, so using the work above, I'm going to scroll down a little bit and I'm going to rewrite this one more time. So x to the third divided by x to the fifth is equal to 1 over x squared. Alright, that's the case because we just did the work up here by expanding it out. And using the quotient property, we know x to the third divided by x to the fifth is the same thing as x to the negative 2. Alright, so if x to the third divided by x to the fifth is the same thing as 1 over x squared, and x to the third divided by x to the fifth is the same thing as x to the negative 2, from this right here, 3 minus 5 is negative 2, what can we conclude about these two statements right here? Well, they have to be equal to each other. So we know that x to the negative 2 has to equal 1 over x squared. Alright, so it's just pretty much the reciprocal. This is why it's just the reciprocal. X to the negative 2 is just 1 over x squared. These two things have to be equal to each other because x to the third divided by x to the fifth is this by expanding it out. And x to the third divided by x to the fifth has to be x to the negative 2. They're just the same exact thing, just rewritten in a fancy way. So, for example, if I have a problem like this, let's say we have x to the negative 4 times y to the second divided by x squared times y to the first. Alright, well, if you look up here, right, x to the negative 2 is the same as 1 over that. So x to the negative 4 is the same thing as 1 over x to the fourth. Alright, so I can rewrite this problem. All I'm doing is just taking the reciprocal and flipping it and changing the sign. So we're going to get y squared over x squared times x to the fourth times y to the 1. Right, all I'm doing is just flipping it. So we're going to get, let's see, well, 2 minus 1 is just going to give us y to the 1. Right, down below here, well, what's x squared times x to the fourth? That's just the same as adding these by the product property. So we're going to get x to the sixth. Alright, so this is just one example of how to apply the definition of negative exponent to situations like this here. Alright, hopefully this helps to clarify definition of negative exponents. Now, similarly, when we have this problem up here like I showed you, if I gave you a problem, let's just say y squared divided by x to the negative fourth, and then we have x squared up here. Alright, well, this is the exact same thing. Just like before, when we had x to the negative 2, this is the same as 1 over x squared. Or let me just use this example problem here. X to the negative 4 is equal to 1 over x to the fourth. Alright, well, it's the same thing as 1 over x to the negative 4. It's the same thing as x to the fourth. We're basically just taking the reciprocals and flipping them. Alright, go ahead and write that down if you haven't, because I'm going to need the space. So what we could do is we could just flip it. So we're just going to get x to the fourth times x squared times y squared. Alright, well now it's just going to be x to the 6 times y squared. All I'm doing is just adding the exponents here. 4 plus 2 is 6, and we get x to the 6. Alright, if you wanted to, we could also approach this using the quotient rule, right? So x squared minus negative 4 times y squared. Well, that's the same thing as x times 2 plus 4 times y squared, which is the same thing as x to the 6 times y squared. So if you notice, even if we use the quotient property 2 minus negative 4, 2 minus negative 4, we're going to get, well, 2 plus 4, which is x to the 6, which is exactly this right here, which is this right here, x to the 4th times x squared. So you could see that all we're doing is just taking this and just pretty much just flipping it and putting it on top. Hope this helps to understand the definition of negative exponent.